One.
Folks, we're back. I'm your host, BKP. I don't want to spend too much time on something, but I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. I'm going to give you the summary of this before we go. Now, just an explanation, not to bore you, a constitutional officer in a county can say to the commission or commissioner, if it's a sole commissioner, they can say, I don't feel my budget is adequate enough, what you're offering me, to comply and handle the office that the people of the county elected me to do. They could say that. So, for example, I'll just make it real simple. If your officer, constitutional officer, wants $1 million to operate their office, and the commissioners or commission decides it's $900,000, they can figure out how to work within the $900,000, or they can go to court and say, hey, I don't feel I have the adequate funds to run the office as the constitutional officer that I'm mandated by the citizens of my county, the voters. That also being said, okay, once the commissioners pass the budget, they cannot walk into a constitutional officer's office and say, hey, you need to spend more on these books or less on these books. You need to spend more here and less here. The only thing the constitutional officer cannot do without their knowledge is bound them to any debt. So that being said, the sheriff, Jeff Johnson, which you have here, he's Dawson County, first term, decided that he was not satisfied with what the commissioners, I'm summarizing, decided that he should have Johnson there as a budget for 2018. All right? And that's Bill Johnson. Let's see, Jeff Johnson, the sheriff. Let's just put him up by himself right now till I go to Bill, because I want to make sure people identify the Johnsons, okay? That's Jeff, the sheriff. So he takes the commissioners to court. All right. Now, he loses. There's two stories, and we're going to let this individual tell you. He loses in court. Now, one, this past weekend, and this is on the Dawson County Sheriff's Office page. And to me personally, I'm going to let you know, even if you're listening, Sheriff, I'm disappointed in politicizing something very dangerous. Now, he's coming fresh off a loss in court. He's very upset with the commissioners. There's not a working relationship. So he posts, this is on the Facebook page, earlier this morning, officers responded to a reported child abuse case. He uses a child abuse case. The scene turned into barricaded subjects with a reported gun and involved a juvenile female inside the home. Additional information received concerned that the subjects had arrest warrants out of Washington State. Out of our available deputies, 5 deputies, 4 were tied up on the scene securing the perimeter, leaving only 1 deputy available to respond to other emergency situations within the county. The Georgia State Patrol responded with 2 of their troopers to help secure the scene. However, from my conversation with them on the scene, no others were immediately available to respond to assist with other calls. Now, he's setting you up that he has 5 available deputies for the county. 4 is at this scene. Finally, 2 Georgia State Patrol. They have no other help to give him. He's setting this up. I dislike this. Sheriff, if you're listening, I'm sorry. You can get upset with me if you want. No others were immediately available to respond to assist with other calls. Night shift deputies were summoned to report for duty early to begin answering calls. Well, that's what you do. You can have 12 hours where very little activities taking place, and then you can have a 6-hour standoff. Sheriff, I have been to 48-hour manhunt. I mean, I have watched a manhunt that we've only done once in 3 years in another county that it was all hands on deck. So He's making a little more out of this than I think he should be. So night shift deputies were summoned to report for duty early to begin answering calls. Okay? After failed attempts to establish contact and dialogue with the offenders, the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office Special Weapons and Tactical Teams arrived with their specially trained personnel and equipment. So what he's trying to tell you here, he had to go outside the county and get specially trained weapons tactic teams to special weapons and tactic teams to come in. Not every county has these teams completely trained, ready to go. But all counties have what's called a working relationship. You build, if your county does not have a tactical team trained for a certain area, or a river team, rescue team, or a boat rescue team, and something was to happen, you have communication and you have agreements with surrounding counties. Just put it like that. I mean, he's pulling out all the stops here. I think this is pretty, I don't like this, Sheriff. Did I tell you that already? A short time later, the incident was resolved without injury or incident to any party. They resolved it. The juvenile was found okay and without injury. Well, that's great. Let's use a juvenile. Let's use all the things you don't have. Let's use all the things you could have had. Let's tell the citizens how unsecure they may have been during this crisis moment in other areas of the county. I greatly appreciate all the professionals who responded to bring this potential violent incident to a peaceful end. Thank you for who you are and what you represent. Now, here's where he set all this up, okay? Dawson County, you, the citizens, Dawson County, our community continues to change. We must be prepared, and we need your help. Let the commissioners know that public safety is a priority for you and your family. Honored to serve as your sheriff, Jeff Johnson. Let the commissioners know. Because they're so bad, these commissioners. They don't want you to be safe. These commissioners dislike you so bad. My words, this is over. They don't want you to be safe. Why, they would not put enough money into a budget in no way whatsoever for public safety. So please let your commissioners know what the possibilities of what could have happened this other night. Now, I'm going to get into exactly what we're talking about, and I'm going to let Bill explain this because it is on the page. But we have we're going to bring in Bill Johnson, the reporter that has written these articles. And the Dawson County Sheriff, sorry, Sheriff, I mean, it sounds like sour grapes to me, but I want to thank you personally for asking people to consider the source, because we think the source is very good here. Consider the source. Growing up, my dad always taught me to consider the source. As much as I normally ignore misinformation, okay, well, we're going to have the person on that he is claiming misinformation, especially that being spewed on social media. Is that what I'm doing right now, Amanda? Spewing on social media. However, I do find it necessary to address this misinformation twice, right out of the box, from time to time. In regards to the recent ruling, where I was disappointed, in simple terms, the court ruled that the Board of Commissioners did not abuse their discretion by denying our request to release previously frozen positions. These positions were frozen years ago and have not been reinstated, even though our county continues to grow and crime continues to rise. I just want to get down here because we're going to move this right along. The online Fetch Your News published an article implying that the additional funds could have been used to fund the CAD system. This is very misleading to our community. A project of this nature would take months. So, to quote an excerpt from the publication, that's Fetch Your News, the source, which you need to consider, and we thank you again for that. Gaines said he doesn't know if Johnson was aware he had close to $400,000 left in the budget, but he questioned why the sheriff needed more money when he didn't spend what he had. Now, I'm happy to bring in Bill Johnson. Yes, your sheriff. Bill Johnson's the reporter, and I'm going to give you the name of two articles, Bill, that I want you to comment on. First of all, Judge Bishop rejects sheriff's claim that Dawson County commissioners abuse their discretion. Tell us a little bit. Welcome, Bill. Tell us a little bit before we get into the sheriff's Facebook post after the fact about this trial. You went to, welcome, Bill, you went to all of the hearings here on this trial?
Thank you, Brian. Yes, I did. I went to both days. And what was interesting about the start of that meeting is Judge Bishop made it very clear that, as a matter of fact, he asked both attorneys, what is it you want me to do? Because even if I find in the sheriff's favor, I don't have any authority to demand the county commissioners pay any certain amount. I can find in your favor, and then you can go back and negotiate, but I can't tell the county commissioners how much they have to give you in their budget. But that's true. The judge did find that the county did not abuse its discretion in the amount. In fact, he went into detail. I don't have the point by point in front of me right now, but he went into detail and refuted some of the things that the sheriff said. For example, one of the things that the sheriff said was that, our sheriff's attorney said, was that, the county refused to meet with him. Well, no, that's not true. I was at a couple of those meetings. I've met with him on more than one occasion. Several times I met with him and his attorney, and even gave the attorney time to ask questions, to make comments. I think they bent over backwards to have those meetings. But, Brian, I did see somebody sent me a copy of the Facebook article that the sheriff posted, and just before anything else, I want to make it very clear that Sheriff Johnson is entitled to his own opinion. I respect that, but I stand by every single word that was in that article. And as Picture News always does, if there is a factual error anywhere in that article, we will be more than happy to correct it.
Well, now going back to the court case, before we move on to this, going back to the court case, you attended, just so our viewers know and the readers, that because he has said consider the source, and he is upset with us, and he's made it public. I mean, we did not go and say we're upset with him. We just wrote articles, which we do. He stepped it up and wrote what he wrote, considering the source, and actually named us. That being said, you attended all the Board of Commissioner meetings where the budget was going through the process. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
So you were present and heard the sheriff and the commissioners debating back and forth. What was the difference in the amount he was asking for versus what the commissioners were willing to put in his budget?
It's right, you're going to ask me that, and I don't have the figures in front of me right now, but as I recall, and I could be wrong about this, but as I recall, the difference in what he was asking and what the county commissioners awarded was somewhere around $500,000.
Okay, but they were not cutting his budget from the previous year.
No, absolutely not.
Right, he was trying to increase. He was trying to increase the budget from the previous year. So he was
trying to increase the increase that they gave him, basically. In their proposed budget, I think they had given him what looked like an increase of about I think it was $800,000 or $900,000 over the previous year, and he didn't feel like that was adequate for him to perform his responsibility. So he added more to that, about $500,000 more, I believe.
So just so the citizens know, the former sheriff retired, and this is a first term, Mr. Johnson, Jeff Johnson's first term sheriff of Dawson County, and his first budget they did increase. And we don't want to get this argument. We're not giving factual numbers, meaning to the penny, because we don't have that in front of us. And Bill came on with us at the last minute. But in his first year in office, they did increase his budget somewhere $900,000. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
So
That's accurate.
they already gave him one increase his first year. Now you was trying to increase that by another $500,000, somewhere in that area?
Yes, sir.
So, and that's what stemmed to the court case. So they go to court, and he loses the case. Is there anything, I know you know I'm going to ask this, and you probably don't have the number because you probably have to do an open records request. Can we get the information as soon as possible of actually what the sheriff taking the commissioners to court cost the citizens of Dawson County? Because it's a superior court. It was I'm going to say a week-long trial, 3 or 4 days. The judge and the commissioners and everybody had to have their attorneys. And actually, the citizens pay for Johnson's attorney. He doesn't go out and get his own.
That's
they
right.
pay for it.
That's
so
right.
the total cost of this court case is on the back of the citizens of Dawson County, correct?
That's correct, and I think I have that figure. I asked for it the other day, and the finance department, our finance director, Vicki Nykirk, sent something to me. I think the cost, unfortunately, my computer has crashed, and I can't get to that figure, but I think that the cost to the county was in the vicinity of $20,000.
$20,000 for this court case, just in legal fees. Just in legal fees, about $20,000.
Right.
About $20,000. Okay. Now, I think he's obviously upset he lost the case, and he said he's disappointed in that. But you wrote an article. Sheriff had nearly $400,000 left in his 2017 budget when he sued the Board of Commissioners. So let's just get something straight. The 2017 budget is the budget they approved that he asked for that increased by $900,000. Am I right?
That's right.
So the money we're talking about now is in the budget he asked for, correct?
I'm sorry, run that by me again.
All right, the sheriff had nearly $400,000 left in his 2017 budget when he sued the Board of Commissioners. What I'm getting at is the $400,000 that you're stating in your title here that he had left in the 2017 budget. That's $400,000 out of $800,000 or $900,000 that they increased him, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right,
that would be correct.
You see what I'm saying? Okay, so now tell me why he's taking you to task. All right, why he's taking you to task over this particular article.
You know, that's a very good question. I really don't know. I haven't seen anything from the sheriff that points out that there is anything factually incorrect about this. I think it's just, and I can understand him being upset and losing the case that they thought they would be able to win. I understand that he thinks he needs more money, but I think at the heart of this, Brian, is the fact that the dispute between the county and the sheriff, it kind of centers on the fact that the county would like for the sheriff to use the county's finance department and purchasing procedures because they believe it's more efficient and more effective for the taxpayers. They've got an experienced staff that's already on hand for them to do that, and they do recognize that the sheriff has every authority not to do it. But they believe that it would be better for the taxpayers of the county if he would use that. He doesn't want to do that, and I think that's kind of at the heart of this dispute. And I think he must believe that for some reason I'm taking the side of the county commissioners. I'm not doing that at all. I have infinite amount of respect for the sheriff and for the Board of Commissioners, but as a reporter, you call them as you see them. You just write the facts and let the chips fall where they may.
Well, I guess one more question I have before we go, and I appreciate you coming on this morning. He says the online Fetcher News published an article implying that the additional funds could have been used to fund the CAD system. Now, I want you to see if you can answer that, but the next segment concerns me and is upsetting to the organization. This is very misleading to our community. And I don't like that because I think you know me and we have a lot of conversations. of we are supposed to be a conduit of information to the communities we serve. And you know me well enough that, that turns my ears red if we are misleading or we're telling the citizens something that's just, not true. And very misleading is a nice way to say, hey, we didn't tell you, the citizens, the truth. So the additional funds could have been used to fund the CAD system. Where is he going with that, and what's your comment where that's concerned?
Well, it's funny you said that. I just this morning I got a text message from one of the county commissioners that commented on that very thing and said, as far as the CAD system that you mentioned in your article, you're 100% correct. He had a $200,000 set aside in his 2017 budget. That was earmarked strictly for the CAD system that they wanted to purchase. Because he had another $400,000 left over that he didn't spend, they could have purchased that system right away. And the commissioners would have been more than happy. I think it would have been more than happy to go ahead and approve it, and I think it could have been put in right away. However long it takes to install something like that, I don't know. But they would have approved it right away.
Because it was already set aside in the budget. I've been to so many meetings that when it comes to purchasing and large purchases, they say, well, it's already in the budget. It's like a formality. They really can't say no to it, is my understanding in a lot of ways, right? Because it's set aside.
I think that's right. Absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, Bill Johnson, I appreciate you very much, and I would like to invite everyone to Fetch Your News, Dawson County. Click on news, read these articles Bill has written, and I would like to encourage you to consider the source. At our dedication to you, the citizens of Dawson County, and everywhere we serve at fetchyournews.com, that we are accurate. And as Bill, you and I know this, that, you and I have had many of conversations in the afternoon where, our position is, if someone reads anything and feels there's a factual error, we will pick up the phone and listen to them. I have a question to you. Did you receive a call before this very long, 14 hours ago, very long comment was written by Sheriff Jeff Johnson? Did you receive a call saying, Bill, I'd like to discuss some of the points you made in your article?
No, I did not.
That's right, and either did I. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to look right in the county. Sheriff Jeff Johnson, I have sat in his office with Bill Johnson, and I have looked at him and said, Sheriff, this is the way we operate at Fetch Your News. If at any time you need me, if any time anything is written or any concern you have where your office is concerned, you call me anytime. Because our first and foremost, right now, we support our law enforcement here, absolutely support law enforcement, first responders, but we have to tell the citizens what's happening financially with their tax money. We're always on the side of the taxpayers. And I've told him that. And Bill, you were with me when I told him that.
Yes, sir. And I was absolutely in his office with you.
And you did not hear from him, and I did not hear from him. But he decided to go on the Dawson County Sheriff's Facebook page. And I, again, want to say thank you, Sheriff, for asking people to consider the source. Bill, you got anything big going on today, or are you?
Yeah, I've got to go get my computer fixed.
Do you have any meetings? Are there any meetings tonight?
Fortunately, I don't have tonight. I've got some that are coming up. There's a big election coming up in Dawsonville tomorrow. The mayor is, the former mayor is running for re-election. That's James Grogan running against Mike Eason. That election is tomorrow, so I've got to get my computer fixed before then so I can get that story in as quick as possible. All
right, well, go get your computer fixed, and we'll be waiting to hear from you on all the results concerning the Dawsonville mayor's race tomorrow.
Mayor's race.
All right.
Right.
Hey, Bill,
Yes,
you have a nice day. I appreciate you coming on. I'm your host, BKP.
Thank you, Brian.
We're going to take a brief break, and as soon as we return, let's see. Amanda, you been thinking anything? You got anything? I mean, you got something?
I got a little something.
Oh, a little something. Amanda has a little something when we return. I'm your host, BKP. Consider the source. We'll be back after these messages.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business